Hello and welcome to another What I Would Change video. This one I'm doing a little bit differently. I'm doing it live, more stream of consciousness. It's just a bit easier and a bit faster to get these videos out. And today I'd like to talk about some inconsistencies with clan chassis to each other. And how some of this stuff is stifling a few mechs and is limiting build diversity on them. So, to do a little spreadsheet warrior here, here are all the clan chassis, this is their tonnage, and this is their pod space. Now I just got these numbers by going into Smurfy, loading up the prime of each of the chassis, going max armor, and then writing down the remaining tonnage that is available for whatever you choose to put on the mech. Then I rounded it off to the nearest half ton, because that's what you would do. You would shave a little bit off legs or arms, depending on the chassis, because the half ton increment is what you can use. Now, these aren't exactly perfect. Like, some people may shave some more from the Hellbringer because they'll shave the armor on the arms all the way down and just use those side torso hard points. But this is just for a representation. And we can see here, this is that mapped out, and I'll just put away that menu up there. We have the tonnage of the mech along the bottom and the pod space along the vertical. Miss Lynx Artocheetah coming up here, Kit Fox Adder, and then we kind of dip down into the sort of smaller mediums, the Shadowcat Nova. We come back up through the Stormcrow, Mad Dog, Ebon Jag, a little tiny dip down into the Timberwolf, not too much, then up into the Warhawk, big drop down into the Executioner, and then shoot up into the Direwolf. And from this, we can already see why a few of these chassis are the more popular ones, and the ones that are used by sort of the meta. The Direwolf just has this humongous quantity of pod space it can take. It's the biggest mech in the game, and it has a fairly small engine for that, an XL300. So it's just like, it's got all the guns. Moving down, the Executioner is quite low, so it's not popular. The Warhawk, it's okay. But we see the Timberwolf, Ebon Jag, they're at the top of the heavies. So that's why they're chosen a lot. Hellbringer is a bit lower, but it's got ACM. So that makes it acceptable. That ECM brings it up in terms of usefulness. Stormcrow, best medium in the game. But then we go down into, say, the Nova and Shadowcat, we see they're quite low. These three other mediums are just nothing in comparison to the Stormcrow. The Adder and Kit Fox have a good amount of pod space. But it's the Arctic Cheetah that gets it there just because of a good engine size, so they can move quickly, and that plethora of energy hard points so that it can do small laser and small pulse laser builds, and its ECM. So we kind of have some mechs here, like the Miss Lynx, like the Shadowcat, like the Nova, Summoner, Executioner, that are a little bit sort of held back, and it is because they have some fixed equipment on there that they cannot manipulate. They cannot take off to allow the pilot of those mechs to make a decision of what they want to do with that tonnage. So we see here, across all of our mechs, the clan chassis at least, here are the fixed equipment that are on those chassis. So it's the Miss Lynx, Artocheetah, Shadowcat, Nova, Summoner, and Executioner. We look in the game here, we'll take a look at the Shadowcat for an example. We can see its mask. 2 tons, fixed center torso. And it's got 6 jump jets, each at half ton, so 3 tons there. That makes our 5 tons of Shadowcat fixed equipment. Now, if that equipment was able to be removed from the mech, they would have the possibility of having this amount of unlocked space, which is just the rounded space plus this locked equipment, is this new statistic here. Now we can look at, this is what it is currently, and this is what it would be if we unlocked that space. You can see that a lot of those chassis are brought up sort of in line with the other mechs in that area. So Mislink's Arctic Cheetah are brought up. The Shadowcat is brought up massively. You look at the difference there, and it is in line between the Adder and the Stormcrow. The Nova is brought up as well, and a little bit low still, but the Summoner is right up now with the heavies, and the Executioner is above the Warhawk. Now, there's two things to consider for this. There's these mechs that have jump jets, and these mechs that have fixed equipment like Mask and the active probe on the Mislinks. Now, you're going to say, like, but they're Omnimechs. They should have to deal with the fact that they have fixed equipment to have the benefits of being Omnimech and clan tech. You know, you shouldn't be able to change your jump jets, you know, because you're a clan mech. Deal with it. Okay, but there's already mechs that can do that. And one of the two is the Kit Fox, but the other one is the Timberwolf. Basically, the best clan chassis, best or second best, depending on who you talk to, can choose their commitment to these fixed hard points and these fixed pieces of equipment. And that is with the swapping up Omnipods. So you see right there, I had jump jets, but I chose to take them off. I freed up tonnage. I can use that now towards guns. I can then choose, okay, I want to put some tonnage back into mobility. Put on the side torsos of the S. I can choose exactly how many tons I want to put into that optional equipment. And the Timberwolf can do this for all the chassis except the S. It goes 0, 2, and 4. And the S, because it has the center torso locked jump jet, it goes 1, 3, and 5. You look at something that's very, very similar, the Summoner, and we're in a situation here where the Summoner has 5 tons of locked equipment in the forms of jump jets. Now, all we would need to do is add in Omnipods for, say, the right and left leg, except that I'll just accept the center torso jump jet is never really going to be taken out. We don't want to add another variant of the Summoner without that center torso. Say the Summoner is just going to be like the Timberwolf S. It's just always going to have that center torso fixed jump jet. That's fine. I can accept that. But give us a leg option, some variant, make it up, who cares, that we can get away from these leg jump jets. And there are builds that I would love to run on the Summoner. I've designed them, and I'm like, this is great. Oh, crap. If I had those 4 extra tons, I could take just enough ammo for it, sort of thing. Allowing the Summoner or those kind of mechs with fixed jump jets or equipment to remove those tons from that equipment opens build diversity on those chassis. So, that's for jump jets. But then you may say, okay, but then like Mask. Okay, we'll just make that fixed. You know, we can't take that. Again, Omnimech. The Shadowcat, I would love to take Mask out of it. It's useful in some situations, but it's maneuverable enough for my tastes. And with those 2 extra tons, I could do a Gauss 2 ER medium laser ECM build on it with 3 tons of ammo. Currently, it can take 1 ton of ammo. We drop that 2-ton Mask, exactly that build becomes viable. And the Mislinks. Here, load out, and we have an active probe that's locked in the head. And you may say, okay, well, you know, that's fixed equipment. It's wired in. It's in lore. We can't take it out. You know, deal with it. But they've already broken that rule as well. If we look at the Adder, it has the center torso energy hardpoint. That used to be a fixed flamer, but again, everybody was just like, hey, this fixed equipment is holding this chassis back. Can we please remove it? Yeah, sure. They made it ability to remove it, and all of a sudden, this 5 ER medium laser build that I'm running here at my Adder becomes viable, becomes worthwhile. So, that would be what I'd love to see. And another thing you may say is, but they can't just randomly add Omnipods, you know. We don't have variants to support them. Well, they kind of did that in the past for the Kit Fox. When the Kitfox first came out, the C variant right arm was available. The rest of the C variant, all the rest of the mech, wasn't. You couldn't buy it. You could just buy the right arm from the Omnipod panel. And the reason they did that was because they wanted the Kitfox to have access to ECM on the get-go. They knew they were eventually going to put in the C variant. So they're just like, okay, let's just put in that Omnipod and give it to them. So they've done that before. They've given us an Omnipod for a chassis that doesn't exist to allow us to do something that would be good for balance. So that would be my idea on those fixed equipment. Allow us to take out our mask, take out our active probe from the mislinks, and give us Omnipods that have varying amounts of jump jets. So allow us to decide how much commitment we want to do to that. If we go back to our spreadsheet warrior here, we can see this unlock space, that current unlocked, but then the next thing I'd like to talk about is locked double heat sinks. Now, for these mechs here, they have a sub 250 engine, so maybe this won't work for them. However, I'd also like to see that sub 250 engine 10 heatsink rule be removed. But for now, let's just say, okay, maybe these ones are left out of it. But these mechs here, it's a little stifling to build creation when you're forced to take extra heatsinks that you normally say would not need or would not want. The most prominent example of that is the Warhawk here. We have 10 double heatsinks that we're forced to take. Load it up here. Take a look at the loadout. 1 in each leg, 3 in the engine, 4 in the side torso, and 1 in this side torso. Now, this is fine. I mean, for a majority of builds on the Warhawk, you're going to need the heat dissipation anyway. You would be taking these heatsinks anyway. And so you can still get a lot of viable builds out of the Warhawk, like I have my Gauss 2 ERPPC build that I run on it. However, you're stifling some of the mech creation on this thing. For example, say I load on the left arm that has a ballistic, and I'm going to run a dual Gauss build on this 85 tonner. I throw that on, I get rid of my AMS because I don't have enough tonnage. I get rid of these heat sinks because I don't need them. My heat management is at 2. And then I go, I guess a little bit of ammo, and then, ooh, I don't have much tonnage left. My medium pulse laser, a half ton of ammo. I'm maxed out. I'm an 85 tonner that has basically the weapons loadout of a 65 ton Jaeger mech. 2 Gauss rifles, a laser, and a few tons of ammo. Ugh. I have a 2 out of 2 heat management, and that is because of these locked heat sinks. If this mech could take off these If these mechs could take off these locked heat sinks, this dual Gauss build could go dual Gauss large laser, dual Gauss large pulse, dual Gauss PPC. It could do something that would be more indicative of an 85 tonner. So, go back to our spreadsheet warrior. We got this unlocked space, and we got these locked double heat sinks. And then this with heat sinks is basically the unlock space plus the amount of heat sinks, which are 1 ton each, very nicely comes out. This would be the new tonnage available for those chassis. And we go current, unlocking of that fixed equipment, and then unlocking of those double heat sinks. Now, it brings basically everything up, except for the Shadowcat and the Stormcrow. Those are the only ones that don't have any locked heat sinks, and brings sort of everything into a very nice line between the low end, Mistlake's Arctic Cheetah, and the high end, the Direwolf. Now you may say, but you're going to allow these people to take so many more guns and all this kind of stuff. It's like, okay, the person can choose to have more guns, but they're going to be hotter because of it. I would say that the vast majority of builds, like if I reset this mech, the Gauss Rifle 2 ERPPC Sniper, I also run a 4 large pulse laser build. Those builds are gonna, even if we allow them to take these heat sinks off, they're gonna immediately put those heat sinks back on because they want the heat sink. It's just allowing builds that don't want that equipment to be able to remove it and use it for something else. Now, there could be a problem with doing this for all the chassis. Like, for example, if I try to put on the B right torso, there's a critical slot crunch here, which is probably a good thing. If I could take off that heatsink, would I be able to get this? No, I wouldn't be able to get that on. I could be able to get the LERM 15 in there. I have the one slot in there. So I could upgrade my LERM 15 instead of dual 15s over here. I could do a 15 and a 20. Woo, I mean, that isn't a big example of it, but there would be examples where there would be some torso, some side torso, some leg, something that is blocking a specific weapon type from being put on there because of a critical slot crunch. That would be the only time where I'd go, well, maybe we don't want to do it there. But I could see a lot of these double heat sinks, especially like the Warhawk Prime left, not just the Prime, the Warhawk left torsos, be removable, as every single torso has no hard points. It's just the double heat sinks. So that would be my idea. Allow them to remove those fixed equipments by removing mask and the active probe off the mislinks. Allow them to choose exactly how much jump jets they want to put onto their chassis. Basically just bring the clan, all the other jump jetting clan chassis into line with the Timberwolf, which is, it's kind of a strange thing to say. The Timberwolf is the strongest. It already can do all these things, so it's just bringing everyone up to what the Timberwolf can already do. And for at least some of the chassis, if not all of them, allow them to choose the amount of heat sinks they have, and some of those fixed heat sinks could be removable to allow more interesting and more diverse builds on these mechs. Now, with all that said and done, this is something I'd love to see in the next balance, the rebalance when it eventually comes out in whatever form it does come out in. And I think if we did this, a lot of these sort of underplayed chassis, like the Shadowcat and the Nova and, the Warhawk, Executioner, Summoner and stuff like that, would get some more ability to be used on the pro scene and just the regular pug stuff. People would be able to use those mechs to more of how they want to. I would say that when you redid this stuff, you don't really need to give mechs any of the clan chassis any quirks at all if you redid this. I mean, maybe two of them, the Ice Ferret and the Gargoyle, because they're over-engined, but that would be it. The vast majority of the other clan mechs that have problems, we see here back in our current, I think would be removed, and they would be stronger candidates to fight the other mechs under this new system. But anyway, that's my thoughts on this. You can leave a comment, your thoughts on whether or not you think this is a great idea, or it's horrible, who knows, I could be just spouting out things that just make balance horrible. But also a comment on whether or not you would like the more scripted, concise, well edited, what I would change, or those types of videos, or these more sort of off the cuff, live, discussing something a little more rambly, but I feel definitely easier for you to make, because I can just do one of these in a 15-20 minute recording and then just process it and put it up within the day. So thank you for watching, and good hunting.